Hello. Okay, a little bit of a different video from me here, and one that I'm going to try and do a little bit more often. And that is just sharing my random thoughts and feelings with you guys, my channel, on everything when it comes to movies and TV, whatever it is in the news of Hollywood and all of that. And I'm going to try and do these kind of random videos a little bit more often. They're not always going to be in this environment due to them being random, because a lot of the time I'll just be sitting there, maybe driving to work, and I'll be thinking a lot about, say, the most really recent movie that I've just watched. For example, in this case, it's Alien Romulus. And I've got a lot of thoughts and feelings about Alien Romulus that I never mentioned in my review, because it wouldn't have worked, because it wasn't really the place to sort of talk about those thoughts and feelings within the review. And so I just really kind of want to get into the habit of creating perhaps more random content when there's something that I feel like I really want to talk about and share with my YouTube channel, with you guys who follow me. Because sometimes there is a lot, and it's like I just said, it doesn't sort of fit into the video, say for example a review, in the way that I feel like is right. And I just feel like there's another place really and a right time to talk about these things, these thoughts and feelings. So Alien Romulus is one of those most recent releases that I kind of really want to sort of pick apart and sort of just share with you guys what it is that I'm kind of really thinking about and sort of exploring when it comes to that experience. Now, I have done a review for it. If you want to check that out, I will leave a link by here. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I didn't love the movie, but I loved many aspects about it, especially when it comes to the technical aspect of how Fede Alvarez brought the world to life for that kind of very retro, futuristic, industrial aesthetic. It did just take me back to being a kid again, watching those original movies. But it is also an experience that I had issues with. But they weren't enough to really sort of take away from just enjoying being in an Alien movie and feeling like I am watching an Alien movie again back when I was a kid watching those originals. But as I said, I do have a lot of issues with it, and there are aspects about its story that I feel like I can't help but just feel they could have potentially have gone in a different direction that might have been more effective when it came to perhaps honouring the original movies and also being a much more effective horror. Because I don't think Alien Romulus was really scary, and a lot of that could be down to me just being desensitized to it all. Due to, you know, I love film, and I've been watching these movies like Alien since I was really young, at an age that I shouldn't be, and I've followed filmmaking quite a bit in sort of how, you know, what it requires and what it involves to sort of create these movies. And I feel like as a result of knowing all of this, it kind of take away from the magic, you could say, and the effectiveness, especially when it comes to horror movies. And as much as I love how Fede Alvarez transported me back to being in what an Alien movie is, like I said in my review, as a fan of the Alien franchise, I felt like I was home again. At the same time, I do feel like perhaps they pandered a little bit too hard to the Alien fan base. And perhaps the Alien Romulus experience could have been a little bit more refined and focused. Because for me personally, he was clearly trying to not only imitate in many ways that original Alien movie, but also James Cameron's Aliens. And I feel like that's where a lot of the issues in terms of most of the middle half of this movie and how the kind of the narrative flowed and how a lot of these action set pieces played out felt very clunky and awkward to me. And I think it's as a result of this combination of these two, in many ways, different movies, as well as kind of really trying to sort of, like I said, pander a little bit too hard to the Alien fan base, where perhaps he needed a bit more of a focus when it came to the story with these characters. And just, like, I would have just loved 2 hours of a intense, anxiety-inducing movie where it's more in the vein of Alien, where we've got this creature stalking the hallways of this space station, more like Alien Isolation, for example. Whereas for me, this was very clearly like years for the first half of the movie, years Alien 1979, and then I've just got to honour James Cameron's Aliens, and it didn't quite work for me, and as a result it kind of did result it took away from the focus of the human aspect of the story, and it just, like I said, it did affect the pacing and the narrative and how it flowed. And then that leads me into what I really wanted to talk about in this random video. Like I said, I don't know how long these videos are going to be. It depends how long I ramble on for, because I do tend, you know, if you've been following me for a while now, I do tend to ramble on. But it's because I just love talking about movies, and the movies I love especially. So yeah, what I felt like they could have done with the story of Alien Romulus. Now, first of all, I like his approach. I like how Fede Alvarez was inspired by the footage that was cut from the original Aliens movie, where you've got the youngsters, the kids on this colony, and what it was that it could have been to them experience this horror being unleashed. And I think that's a very interesting sort of concept, or an interesting premise, and I do really think that's a really interesting idea, and one that could have been really effective when it comes to the horror. And for me, it starts off really strong with the opening scene, where you've got this Weyland-Yutani ship searching the wreckage of the Nostromo, and straight away it's plucking at those nostalgia strings. Do you know what I mean? I am feeling like, wow. And especially when it comes to sort of how it's all brought to life through model work, practical effects, the lighting, the set design, the costume design, and the cinematography. Like, this movie is gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at. He's managed to capture the look, the feel, the tone, and the essence of those original movies in a way that did feel natural and right. And you witness this through the opening first seconds, moments of this movie. And the first scene for me gave me goosebumps. And it's in this moment where you witness Weyland-Yutani collecting this sort of what looks like an asteroid, but within this object is the xenomorph from the original movie. Now, this moment gave me chills. Like, it gave me goosebumps, because not only, you know, is this achieved through the aesthetic, the look, the music, the very haunting music by Benjamin Wallfish, which again is also gorgeous, but it taps into something deep inside. And I feel like that's why it gave me chills. Like, it was haunting to witness. And that's because the original Alien movie as a kid absolutely terrified the life out of me. And that is why I kept going back to that movie, because it was so effective. It was an experience. It was a ride. It was an attention, anxiety-inducing ride. And that's what horror movies should do. And especially as a kid, you know, they're going to be really effective. And I think just watching this moment with that original creature from that original movie, it kind of tapped into that horror deep within inside. It tapped into that anxiety in a way, and it left me very frustrated. Because for those that have watched the movie now know, there is a reason to why we witness this, because obviously this original xenomorph plays a big part into the story, but it also doesn't do an awful lot with that original xenomorph. And, you know, you don't see the space station, you know, going down due to the original xenomorph making its way through it, causing havoc. You don't really witness that, apart from what Rook, the android, says, and sort of quick glimpses of CCTV footage. You could see people running through the hallways, but that's about it. And there's just something about this moment where we witness the original creature, the original xenomorph, being taken out of its cocoon into the space station or onto this ship, and just to have witnessed this story through the eyes of young adults still, maybe, but on this space station where this creature awakes, it's awoken, and it just causes havoc, and it's stalking the corridors, it's stalking the air ducts and all of that. And for me personally, this potentially could have been a much more effective horror, because for me, and this is all just my personal opinion, okay, and something that I feel like might have just been more, I think it would have worked a little bit more because it perhaps could have had a much more of a focus. It would have been a much more contained experience. A lot of that would have been intensified for me because this is the original xenomorph. This is the original creature. And there is just something deep inside, sort of subconsciously, that it's triggering something anxiety-inducing, you could say, or something that's kind of really... Because I feel like, you know, this movie, at the end of the day, is catered towards those that grew up watching those original movies. Like, I was incredibly young. I can't really remember how old I was, but I was very, very young. And there's a lot of us that were that age, younger and older, that grew up watching those original movies. And I feel like this is what Alien Romulus is aimed towards. And I felt like if you could have really have tapped into that horror of what it was like for us to witness and to experience that original movie for the first time by telling the story maybe in this direction, by going in that direction of us sort of experiencing the horror again, but with it being the original xenomorph. And so yes, in many ways I'm saying I'm disappointed we didn't get more of the original xenomorph, but at the same time I felt like there was so much missed opportunity. There was a missed, you know, there was a potential there to have really tapped into the nostalgia in a way that was very natural and very right, and it would have worked perhaps in a way that wasn't quite as awkward or as clanky or felt as sort of heavy-handed at times, maybe like it was with Alien Romulus. But I felt like if they had just focused more on what that original Alien was and less on James Cameron's Aliens, and just kind of really sort of tapped into that horror, especially when it comes to those like us who have grown up with the movies at an age where we shouldn't have been watching them, but that fear is sort of buried there deep down inside. And I felt like it would have been a much more focused and refined experience. And look, I know a lot of these ideas and feelings that I have of where they could have gone with the direction of its story and what they could have retained and kept. This would have been a completely different movie as a result in many ways, due to what it was that Fede Alvarez was inspired by, and with these characters and sort of what they're going through emotionally with the fact that they've lost their parents, basically to this corporation, due to being on this mining planet and all of that. It does play into what the, you know, the themes of the Alien series in many ways. I just feel like it's a film that has the right intentions, but doesn't always get it right when it comes to that story and how that story plays out at the same time. And there's just things I feel like they could have done which would have perhaps tapped into the horror a little bit more effectively. Like, don't get me wrong, by keeping that original xenomorph within this movie would have again been fan service, do you know what I mean? But I think it might have just been done in a way where it would have just retained a focus on the story and added a bit more, not only tension, but also a sense of urgency as well. At the end of the day, as a fan of the franchise, like I am, you know, like any fan with any other franchise, you're always going to have your own personal sort of preferences and ideas of what they could have done and what ifs, basically. And that's what this video is. Like I said, I liked what we got, but there were aspects of this movie that tease us and hint at what also could have been as well. And I do feel like there are flaws in the movie that have fueled sort of these random thoughts and feelings that I have towards Alien Romulus, which is why I really wanted to share them, because I want to know what you guys think about them. You may think they're fucking terrible and they're fucking, you know, idiotic or silly or stupid, but you might also agree with them. I don't know. What I do know is I would love Fede Alvarez to return to direct the sequel, because he is clearly a fan. He knows what it is to, he knows what to do, what is required to craft an alien movie that feels like an alien movie, you know, and sort of transport me back to being within a certain era of filmmaking. That passion is there, and I would love to continue the journey with Vrain and Andy. I am already on board. I like these characters, even though I feel like that kind of emotional aspect of this dynamic and their character's journey does get lost through the noise of the movie. I would love to see what feat Alvarez could bring next if we get a sequel. Yeah, they are my thoughts. They are my random thoughts and feelings about where I felt like Alien Romulus could have gone and what it teased, because it does tease it. And I think we're getting sort of that aspect of the story where we've got the original creature causing havoc on this space station. We do have that come in comic book form. I believe that's closer to Christmas, which is fine. It's great. But I felt like there was definitely something more there which would have made a much more effective, it would have been a much more effective experience when it comes to the horror. But maybe that's just me. And maybe there's many of you out there that disagree with that. But this is literally just a random thought of mine where I'm like, that's definitely a missed opportunity. But at the same time, I enjoyed what we got. I had a good time. It was fun. What do you guys think? Do you agree with anything I've said? Do you disagree with anything I said? I think that many of you that will disagree with what I've said. But let me know below. And let's get discussion going. And look, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you sort of just holding on and sort of sticking to me rambling on. But it means an awful lot to me. And if you want to watch future movie reviews, TV reviews, and just videos like this, then why not hit the subscribe button? It will mean an awful lot to me. I'm hoping to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to do it, but just a big thank you to all of those that have subscribed over the last couple of weeks, months and years. It means an awful lot. So yeah, I might do another couple of these videos. I don't quite know yet, but just let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll be catching you guys soon.